Hello everyone, welcome back. This is Lucky Lore Master, and I'm here to take you through another replay of Companies of Heroes 2. And here we have a map I played recently that I thought everyone would enjoy. I called it Teamwork, Vehicles in Winter, and Fun. Me and Zero Cool 1666 against 2 CPU standards. Alright, let's hop into the action. Now, a couple of interesting things initially before we begin about this match is that we were of similar rank, the players, and we also had nearly the same score, like in every capacity. Same number of kills, same number of losses, same amount of territory taken and lost, the amount of damage we inflicted on the enemy. It was eerily close. So, take-home message is that we, both of us, provided a valuable contribution to the war effort on this map. And there was a lot of defensive fighting. I think that you all will enjoy it. So here we are in Pripyat Winter Battlefield. The Pripyat River and the marshes that follow its meandering course was an obstacle to the German advance in the Soviet Union in 1941, but when the rivers and marshes freeze, traditional choke points like bridges cease to matter, when the ice is frozen thick enough to support the weight of even the heaviest vehicles. So this should be a fairly exciting match, I think. Let's throw ourselves into it. Okay, so let's turn off the fog of war so we get a full view of what's going on. Keep the taskbar up, like usual. Alright, we'll go from my perspective so you can see what I was doing. And let's switch to the tactical map. Alright. As you can see, our enemy is going for the aggressive start for the Russians, which means they're deploying their combat engineer squads that they start with immediately, and then they're starting to make conscripts right away, so their force is going to get very large very soon. Meanwhile, I have built the infantry company, and so is my ally, and we are starting to expand ourselves. As you can see, not only are the actual Russian fighting squads larger, I mean, Grenadiers only have 4 men, while conscripts have 6 men. You know, the twist is that, of course, Grenadiers are generally more effective. However, I would definitely argue that conscripts are more versatile in the types of things that they can do. I mean, they are really meant to be different versions of the same thing for each faction, but it's interesting, and it can make for a pretty in-depth comparison. I think there are some strategy guides, excuse me, it's still very early in the morning, online, that can talk about that. Anyway, so as you can see, I started by making a bunch of Grenadiers, my ally, some machine guns, intending to set up for defense. In the beginning, I was interested in capturing everything to the southwest of the Pripyat River. I wanted to control all of this territory. That was my objective. Now, the reason why I wanted to do that, considering the 3 victory points, which will actually win us the map, are up here, in the middle of and to the north of the river, is the fact that look at all these resources, 2 munition points and a fuel point. Controlling this territory will make it so that our team can win, and so that's why I started to deploy pretty much all of my units so far in force in order to control this area. As you can see, this is a special point on this map, a vehicle repair facility. If you drive any vehicles over to this point, they will begin to automatically repair. Now, you think I would take advantage of this in this map, considering I do deploy vehicles later, but I don't because I forgot. Anyway, we're actually starting to make first contact with the enemy. Let's go back to the normal view. As you can see, things are getting pretty hot here. My ally is starting to push for the center, engaging the troops with pioneers and flame and machine guns. However, the conscripts throw Molotov cocktails, which is an excellent counter for machine guns. He's probably going to have to move his squad or retreat it, when in fact just get wiped out.
And he shoots as bad as he smells!
Meanwhile, I'm having considerably more luck, as I've moved up my 2 Grenadier squads to flank, and they're just fighting some field engineers, and frankly, they're just outclassed. They're not going to... Those combat engineers are not going to be able to do terribly much there. Meanwhile, my ally is doing reasonably well in controlling the center point with the watchtower, which is an important thing to do. However, he is starting to get outflanked by the computer, so he's got to be careful. Meanwhile, I am starting to set up a defensive network, because remember, my objective in this match is to control everything south of the river. So, it's a pretty broad objective, but something I think that I do manage to accomplish. Alright, let's look at the tactical map again. I'm bringing up some pioneers because I want to always have one squad of pioneers in the field and one squad back at base. The squad back at base, their responsibility will be to build structures, repair vehicles, and perform any other supportive tasks whenever our squads have to either move back to reinforce, or to create structures, or to obviously build vehicles. So that's what their responsibility is. As you can see, our enemy is trying to cut us off here with this valuable territory point. I'm sending up squads to deal with that. As for what's going on in the center, it looks like our ally is still struggling to hold on to the point. Yeah, the machine gun squad gets roasted by a Molotov cocktail, but luckily he has another one in reserve in order to help hold on as best he could. Meanwhile, my team of grenadiers, the two fire teams of grenadiers, managed to move up and just wipe out those conscripts and force them, all one of them that is left, to go running back to base like a little sissy. Anyway, let's not be too over-emasculated. What's going on here? Okay, so as you can see, the computer is trying to flank in the north, and my ally is really only concerned about controlling the victory points, which is a decent strategy, but he's kind of putting himself in a situation where, you know, the computer is going to continue to flank like this, and it only has to do it with one or two squads while it sends the bulk of its forces against us. Meanwhile, down here, I'm desperately trying to build a bunker in order to set up a machine gun NG emplacement in order to stop it. However, of course, those pesky Molotov cocktails are chucked over and they kill my pioneer squad, so I'm going to obviously have to replace that. Meanwhile, I'm sending up my two grenadier squads in order to take revenge. And as you can see, I move one up around behind the vehicle and the other straight into their midst and begin to really give them the worst of it. You see rifle grenade going out there.
Requested units have arrived. Attack! Pioneers ready for assignment.
Grenadiers by default are all armed with K98Ks rifles, and with the upgrade you can give one of them an MG42, I believe it is. Yes, the MG42 light machine gun, which is does not provide suppression like the heavy MG42 does, but it does make the squad able to do a lot more damage to infantry. As you can see, I'm already starting to deploy half-tracks, and that's going to be very valuable for keeping my infantry in force out in the field, as it can serve on this winter map not only as a form of transport, not only as a form of reinforcement, but also, of course, as a form of mobility. So half-tracks in winter maps become that much more valuable. As you can see, though, my ally unfortunately is having some difficulty. His forces have taken considerable losses, and he was pushed back to his base, having to reinforce as best he could. Meanwhile, I am controlling the south half of the map, and again, this is helping us because it is giving us the resources necessary for not only me to build my force, but my ally to build his force as well. And as you can see, he is about to launch a major counterattack with infantry. Unfortunately, a blizzard is about to start in about 5 seconds, so that might not be the best thing to do. This is generally like on winter maps. I put so much emphasis on actually creating half-tracks, because they will not only they'll warm up your infantry, as you can see, the red bar increasing. That's what's going on there. Those guys are warming up inside the nice toasty half-track. And let's see. I decided at this point to reunite my half-track with my new scout car, and oh wait, I'm having a small glitch. Hold on. Hold Hold on a sec, everybody. Okay, yep. That was weird. 1 second, everybody. 1 second. Okay, that was a really odd glitch. I have no idea what happened there, but we're back. Anyway, I decided to move my scout car and my half-track up to attack this center point. And unfortunately, there was a lot of Russian infantry in the way, so a rather spirited battle broke out. I deployed my infantry, I kept my scout car in the rear, and I kept trying to reinforce them as best I could over a long-term battle. Now there's something I want to address real quick right here, so one moment. Okay, we're back. I just had to adjust the sound volume a little bit. So yes, our squads are starting to take considerable losses, but with both of these vehicles moved up, with their MG-34s blaring away, I figured they could probably take the blunt out of this attack. They might get destroyed in the process, but considering just the sheer amount of infantry that our enemy had moved up into this sector, I figured, you know, this was where it had to happen. And all the better, the fact that it's in the middle of a blizzard means they are slowly freezing to death as they're trying to fight us. And sure, they could move back to the safety of this fire, but it wouldn't necessarily get them where they want to go. Ooh, you can see they throw a Molotov cocktail, not as powerful as an anti-tank grenade in dealing with vehicles, but it obviously does some damage. And the Russians are sent running. We do a lot of damage to their squads. Meanwhile, I've built the MG emplacement and have this Grenadier squad over here in order to protect what's going on. Now, I was pretty happy with that military victory. I mean, they were coming in force to do a big flank, and we stopped them cold. We took some losses, but we didn't lose any units completely. So I went back to base, I built a bunker, and I installed it as a medic station. The Germans can install a bunker as a MG-42 heavy machine gun emplacement, a medic station which will heal any nearby infantry, or a command post which will allow infantry to reinforce near it, all of that costing 60 munitions. So I decided to move after building a new structure, this Fort Armor Corps. I decided to reinforce my infantry and, you know, repair, resupply, and everything else. So, repairing vehicles, as you can see, Veterancy 2 on this scout car, it was doing quite well. And also, I'm bringing the engineers back in this half-track with the damaged engine. We're going to repair everything and get the infantry in the half-track. Meanwhile, what's going on? My Grenadier squad is struggling to defend against a decent anti-tank gun that has unfortunately whittled the squad down a lot with an artillery bombardment. And the MG-42 emplacement is chipping away at it, but unfortunately it is in heavy cover, so it's not going to be able to do very much. So I decided just to retreat this squad, and considering the bunker, once you upgrade it, doesn't actually cost any population cap, I just figured that it was going to get destroyed, and there was very little I could do about that. So, the bunker, with its imaginary soldiers, which are shooting a gun but are not actually listed as units, are obliterated. Now, that's given me enough time to get my little, I guess you could call it, what would it be really? I guess it would be a squad. I mean, 2 vehicles, about 8 men, 2 men obviously operating both vehicles. Yeah, it would be about a squad of soldiers, half-track, and a scout car. Come sweeping in, and the idea behind this is, oh, well, should I go over here? And I thought, no, because this is more important and there's more enemy over here. So I immediately drove the half-track up, evacuated all the infantry, and told everyone to destroy that anti-tank gun. Because that deadly as this 3 could destroy both of my vehicles if I was not careful. So that became the #1 priority. Now, as you can see here, the enemy has mortars in the area. Mortars over here on the ice, and over here in the woods. And they are starting to bombard our infantry. Now, I knew at the time, it's like, I obviously can't just stay here and cap the point, because the moving forward to MG-42, M10, 1910 Maxim heavy machine guns, they're going to start attacking in force. I just wanted to inflict some losses and fall back, and so that's exactly what I did. Meanwhile, I saw there was an attack happening down here, So I figured now was an excellent time to actually sneak over and hold this point. Now you can see I have an MG42 machine gun holding this very important house. Great for defending this general area against enemy advances, at least with infantry anyway. And so after reinforcing my squads, I decided to move everyone over here in a wide arc and launch a counterattack. As you can see, getting the vehicles behind the anti-tank gun was my #1 priority, because obviously that could, as a hard counter, destroy these vehicles very quickly. Once a field gun or mortar team is reduced to only one man, it can no longer be operated, and the one man that is left will basically become an NPC, a non-controllable entity. And that's not what it stands for, but they'll become a non-controllable entity and then leave the battlefield. So, as you can see, we inflicted serious losses on the infantry, and they retreated. And we managed to destroy the enemy scout car as well, despite our own scout car taking a lot of damage, but also getting veterancy 3. As you can see here, I have my pioneers with flamethrowers and my grenadiers with MG42s, and they're just decimating enemy infantry and forcing them to retreat. So meanwhile, I decide, hey, that's an awful nice Sys-3 field gun, so I decided to take it, start reinforcing from the half-track, and then get the pioneers to fix that veterancy 3 scout car. Meanwhile, the grenadiers move forward and begin to take back this munitions point. As for what my ally is doing, he's recaptured the center of the map, and is in the area wiping out enemy squads, including these deadly mortar teams, which the AI generally does a good job of using. He's deployed a Flak Panzer IV Ostwind anti-aircraft support tank, which has a fast-firing 37mm gun, which is very effective, very powerful. It's an excellent counter against, obviously, not only aircraft, for which it was designed, but also light vehicles and infantry as well. So as you can see, he's moving his forces around in a big ball. He's taking the flag points. Meanwhile, I am repairing my valuable vehicles, reinforcing everything, getting my infantry back in decent shape, and recapturing points. And meanwhile, aha, you can see I have, in the meantime, made a Panzer IV medium tank, and another squad of infantry, this time with MG42s, and also a Panzer Grenadiers, which can be upgraded with Panzerschrecks. And so now that I had this entire force mustered, decent scout car, 2 half-tracks full of troops, and a Panzer IV, I figured now was an excellent time to launch an attack right into the enemy's flanks. Now I just caught a glimpse of an enemy T-34 over here, so I wanted to exercise caution. So I moved my Panzer IV up, see if he could ambush it. I didn't want to drive him onto the ice, because that's pretty dangerous, especially if the ice near your tank gets hit. It will destroy the ice, and your tank will sink into it, and it will be a total loss. And that's obviously no good. So I was waiting, but then I saw that the enemy T-34 had just moved off, so I decided to move up and get all but one of my vehicles across the frozen river as soon as possible. As you can see here, the ice is already beginning to shatter, and this infantry squad was unfortunately cut off and completely wiped out. Now meanwhile, I was so focused on what was going on, I didn't notice this half-track was coming under fire from a T-70, which is a deadly counter to it. So I immediately evacuated my infantry because I knew it was going to be destroyed, and I moved up my Panzer IV and my scout car, which is now upgraded with the 2cm autocannon, which is effective, and started to engage. Unfortunately, it got caught by the enemy T-34, and my lovely little scout car was eliminated. Now, right now, I managed to cap the point behind that, and then I moved up my other half-track, deployed the infantry. We're controlling the point now, and what I wanted to do is finish off that T-34, so I sent my Panzer IV over here in order to deal with it, and it started engaging it in a frontal battle. Now, in a standoff, like a competition like this, the Panzer IV definitely has the edge in this game over the T-34, considering this is a generally late war model with a long 75mm gun. Oh, but what does he do? He rams it. And, obviously, unfortunately, the T-34 is lost for the enemy team. However, he has done 2 valuable things with that. He has destroyed the 75mm main gun, and he has destroyed the engine, so well, actually not destroyed, but damaged. So my poor little Panzer IV is now pretty much at the mercy of another enemy T-34, which has just moved into the area. And I had tried to move my infantry up into this structure in order to provide cover fire for it while I try to retreat it away, but unfortunately there's just too many enemy forces in the area, so the Panzer IV, despite trying to back away out of the fight, was unfortunately finished off by the enemy T-34 and obliterated. So what I decided to do is this infantry couldn't take any more. I told them to retreat all the way back to base, moving through enemy lines. However, this bought me some time for my ally to move forward with his Panzer IV and his Ostwind and start to cause serious trouble for the enemy armor. Now, unfortunately, it didn't seem like he noticed initially the Su-76M, which is in the area, the assault gun, so that was obviously a danger, so he, I think, wisely decided to retreat. And as I did with my forces, my other half-track was destroyed, the infantry retreated back to base. I decided to manually retreat this squad back over here to my anti-tank gun, which the Russians so generously donated to us. As you can see, I was doing an artillery bombardment, and then I saw that they were moving up the ZSU M17 half-track armed with 450 calibers, which is a deadly counter to any enemy infantry. So I decided to turn the anti-tank gun in order to deal with that, and also bring up the squad to reinforce, because as you can see, the anti-tank gun is taking losses, as that is typically the case. And unfortunately the squad was wiped out, but, you know, my ally, seeing the problem, decided to move his armor down here just to help, but he saw that everything was in hand anyway, so all was well. So I immediately re-grabbed the gun, and began to reinforce everyone in order to get the infantry back up to strength. Meanwhile, I made another half-track in order to replace the one I lost, reinforced and healed up my infantry, and are going to get them ready in order to go back out into the field. Meanwhile, the enemy is still moving around with lots of Su-76s and scout cars. My enemy is going heavily with Panzer IVs, has just deployed some in the area, and is launching an excellent counterattack, I think. I mean, they do have a considerable force mustered up here, but in a straight-up fight, the Panzer IVs will definitely outfight these Su-76s. As you can see, one of them is already destroyed. They go roaring across the ice and start to chase down the other one and manage to destroy it. Meanwhile, he's made up a lot, and wow, a lot of Pioneer squads with flamethrowers, along with a couple of Grenadier squads with MG42s, and they are an excellent striking force working together like that. Meanwhile, I am struggling to hold off this enemy force with my infantry. As you can see, we encountered a T-34, and the only counter I really had in the area was this anti-tank gun, so I decided to retreat the half-track and bring up my the anti-tank gun, and it starts chipping away the T-34. The infantry take cover behind this destroyed half-track, and these Pioneers behind these sandbags. And as you can see, the T-34 tried to fight it straight on. It's not working very well. Its main gun is now destroyed, and it is not getting away. T-34 obliterated. And the infantry, heavily damaged, being forced to retreat. Now, you can see on the map, what is this weird yellow color that's popped up? My ally used a doctrine which allows him to get Opel Blitz cargo trucks. What these do, they're basically defenseless supply trucks. The unit can lock down on territories and increase resource income. It does not function within the player's command sector, and does not prevent the sector from being captured. However, you can move it into a sector I'm protecting, like this one, and increase the fuel income, which is necessary for vehicles. He's also done the same with this sector up here, after building a fuel reinforce point. As you can see, fuel and munitions just increased there. So it's quite valuable. Anyway, as you can see going on up here, my ally has definitely rebounded in a major way. He has lots of infantry moving out into the field, along with a decent armored force of 2 Panzer IVs and an Ostwind. Meanwhile, down here, I was just actually getting ready to launch my own kind of counterattack. I had moved all of my infantry back to the area. I had reinforced everyone. I put everyone back in the half-tracks. The anti-tank gun is ready. Now, I saw the enemy was causing some trouble here, so I decided to send a scout plane into the area to find out where the enemy was and what they were doing. And as you can see on the mini-map, it's zooming about. And I saw this T-34 active in the area. So I was about to move my half-tracks over here in order to engage the infantry and see what we could do over here, but then I saw the T-34 coming this way, and I decided to immediately move them back. Meanwhile, my ally had a much more aggressive idea in mind. He began to take his entire company and move it towards the enemy base. And as you can see, the enemy is distracted. Almost all of their forces are moved forward trying to capture the center of the map and cut off these territory points. Now, this really is going to excuse me, I just woke up. It's going to malfunction or not work very well for them, considering I now have an anti-tank gun and a bunch of infantry in the area. I immediately send all of my grenadiers forward, and I'm attempting to have them use the Panzerfaust ability, which will do some decent damage and damage the enemy tank's engine, which will slow its speed and make it much more easy for my anti-tank gun and infantry in order to chase it down and finish it off. Meanwhile, you can guess what my ally's about to do. He's moving up with his 2 Ostwinds and 2 Panzer IVs now. He is destroying the machine gun emplacements and about to inflict horrific damage. Meanwhile, I am playing Hold the Resource, having my infantry distract and spot the T-34 tank, causing as much carnage as possible. Meanwhile, I kept the half-tracks in the rear because I did not want to see them destroyed by the T-34, which it will do fairly quickly and efficiently. As you can see, they were moving up this machine gun, but they managed to destroy the T-34, which is what I wanted. This MG-42 emplacement is still holding on strong, but you know, this is something I didn't really notice at the time, considering I was busy stopping the enemy advance. But while I was busy doing that, my ally was busy obliterating their base with an overwhelming force. So this is a great example of a map where teamwork is used very efficiently in order to accomplish your goals. Now, where's my armor? I just was saving up for the Tiger 6. Ooh la la, isn't it nice? Oh, I was so happy that I had it. I even brought up a half-track to go along with it. But then I kind of noticed towards the end, oh wow, you know, I kind of stopped the enemy advance, even though I lost a little territory in the process. You seem to be completely obliterating the enemy base, my friend. Well, no, that works. I mean, I defeat them in the field, he defeats them back at their base. The result? Victory. So as you can see, this is a map that worked out fairly well. It started with an aggressive start and then got more defensive as time went on, and the enemy started really bringing their forces to bear. Even though right now, considering they held on to the victory points longer, and they're still trying to cap them for some ridiculous reason, you know, they still have more command points. Now, something confused me. I don't know whether they changed this in the latest patch, because this is a victory, obviously. I mean, they moved together a huge force. We destroyed almost all of their forces, and then their base. And even if they have like 140 more victory points than we do, you know, the game is up. They're being completely annihilated. And frankly, I'm just moving around half-tracks at this point, destroying remnant enemy forces like this anti-tank gun with infantry, defending on points. He's moving up even more armor. I'm about to move my infantry and my Tiger up into the field. But really, my ally had moved forward so many infantry, so many armored vehicles, that there wasn't much left by the time I got there for me to do much about. As you can see, all their buildings except their regimental field headquarters are standing, and they themselves are about to go down. And even though the enemy controls all of the victory points, well, that doesn't really mean very much if your company gets completely annihilated. Which is what happens right now. And that's a victory, everybody. Okay. So, perhaps they changed that in the patch, because as you can see, our enemy has substantially more victory points than we do. However, it did say it was a victory, so, yep, apparently they modified that, which is good, considering it really doesn't make sense. It's like, yes, comrade, we controlled the field, all the victory points of ours, and we have so many points. Yeah, but we lost our entire army. Isn't that kind of a problem? Semantics. Technical details. Do not question the Fuhrer. Anyway, as you can see, last thing I was up to before the match ended was being over here and engaging some penal battalion squad, which had just thrown some explosive packs under my half-track, and who knows whether that half-track would get out of there in time. If they didn't, it would explode as well as all the infantry in it. So, you know, thankfully they were saved by the bell. 2.2 seconds left until their doom. And I didn't get to use my Tiger. Ugh. That's the thing about all of these really expensive, powerful, late-game vehicles. It's like, oh yeah, alright, my Tiger, or my ISU-152, or my IS-2, or my Elephant tank destroyer. Oh wow, they're so awesome, I'd love to get one of those. Yeah, if your ally or your enemy is just practical and makes lots of, you know, the standard service vehicles, and like the Panzer IV and the Ostwind, etc., half-tracks, you know, the vehicles that actually fought the majority of the war, and which, if Germany had any sense, they would have made more of, and used, you know, and actually had a decent numerical force rather than specializing like I did in ridiculously heavy, powerful vehicles that they could only make about, 1,500 or so of, then maybe their fortunes in the war might have been a bit better. But hey, you know, I'm not complaining. I don't think anyone's complaining that the Germans lost eventually, but hey, you know, that's another conversation for another time. Alright, so I hope everyone enjoyed the replay. Thanks for watching. Talk to you all later, everyone. Bye-bye.